Is everybody good? Contention 1 is framing. The standard is consistent with hedonistic act utilitarianism. Extinction outweighs under any moral framework. Proof 15. Important to reduce resistance when eliminated by nuclear war while being impeded or people is important. Existential risk is the most important thing. All ethical doctrines take on to account strong reason to reduce existential risk. They don't virtue as an egoist agree even if we're 1% sure the future matters. Reducing existential risk is the most important thing. Selfish wrongfulness and human history. Contention 2 is primacy. First is normalization. Normalization is on ice, but contention of Palestine and ending the Gaza war are the missing piece. Maggot 23. Biden and Solomon agreed to build on negotiation normalized size before the war. Officials acknowledge effort no longer priority. Leaders agreed on pursuing efforts to maintain stability. Saudi prince called for ceasefire in Gaza, urged resuming Israeli-Palestinian peace. Riyadh put normalization on ice amidst the war in the weeks before progress to normalize relations. That lets the U.S. reassert its commitment to the Middle East to deter China. Diary 3. China's the core reason for a deal. Biden's approach focused on countering, lining up most important partners. China's a deal between Saudi and Iran. Biden prioritizing Israel. Saudi's way reasserts of an enemy. Economic expect alignment of Chinese and Saudi interests. China made inroads sought to buy oil with its own currency to great dollar. Biden could get wins in regions that hasn't given any. Specifically, it creates, quote, a bulwark of allied nations against Iran, which is otherwise aggressive. Mandel 23. Iran's ambition to dominate the Middle East ordered to Arabs and Israelis find common ground, leading sponsor of terror. Biden realized path to stabilize what's relations between Saudi and Israel, create a bulwark against Iran and normalize relations with the countries who would participate in American-led rapprochement with Israel, undermining Iran's goal for dominance. Iran remains a rival. Saudi's way to see the outcome of this war. Iran activates Hezbollah, becomes a defining moment, can overwhelm Israel's missiles and strike everywhere. If Iran diminished, allies will be chastened. The region more stable. Israel will retaliate with nukes. Farley at 19. The obvious scenario for Iran, Israel to use nuclear weapons would be in response to foreign attack. Israel's goals would be to destroy the military capacity of the enemy. Instead of mentioning any attack would be meant for retaliation. There's no question Israel could consider using its weapons if the individual balance stepped out of its favor. Political shifts could leave Israel isolated and vulnerable and conventional attack. Nuclear weapons remain part of the tool. Second is credibility. Support for the rules-based international order and human rights are key to reassertment post-Trump. Shattuck and Shittick 21. Static taking a hit. Trump's blame internationally domestically alienating allies. Problems await increasing competition, decline of power. U.S. power and security rests on commitment to human rights. Cannot ignore dimension during Cold War, segregation, outrage leaders, saying image civil rights movement and legislation against U.S. credibility. World's watching closely. Competition focuses on values, not just economic military issues. American leadership is tied to rights credibility and is in free fall, which sees decisions China. Griffith 23. China beginning the system the challenge it sees itself as leading in one system which it can exercise maximum autonomy. Other states need to make the case for multilateral engagement. The human rights calls for upholding legitimacy of institutions is trying to rest on strength of appeal and leverage. North needs to develop an alternative participation that prevents two priorities of China's constituency. Support for the Gaza war is the largest internal link to credibility drop-off. Other countries don't buy commitment to rules-based order. Support for Israel that boost for Beijing and Moscow. Kefir 23. World good to Palestine by supporting Gaza. Cause anti-American sentiments to surge all over the global south. Talking about out of touch with opinion globally. Many in opposition to the U.S. The U.S. support is infuriated. Allies highlighted hypocritical. Washington meeting human rights and norms that back countries refuse to call for a ceasefire, not condemning atrocity, expresses hypocrisy after Ukraine. Washington struggled to unite the world, most in the Arab world, Africa. Did not sanction Russia. Widespread recognition of the difference between the ILA set by the UN and the West. Selective application, many scholars hypocrisy considering support for Israel. White House's policies in Gaza are boost Beijing and Moscow. China's official benefit from humility to point out isolation of the global south when it comes to Palestine, presenting as in touch with governments, civilians, divert attention from Ukraine. Highlighted double standard. China benefited by distance from Israel, appearing sympathetic to Palestinians, seeming viable global alternative partner, beneficial to support for Israel. So long as the U.S. refuses a two-state solution or sovereignty. Regional allies specifically are not happy. Raymond 23. Public support for assault and remaining relations with allies. Criticized Washington for providing weapons, carte blanche, said former official quit and pretense of giving military support to Israel, despite deep injustice, removing credibility, message Arabs hearing loud and quiet. Iowa has optional human rights have boundaries. Governments need to ties with U.S., but also avoid being seen as complicit with onslaught. Chinese government revision is true and professional declines escalate to Taiwan war. Beijing's strategy achieving global power and privacy. Media party officials explain powerful China cannot present system led by U.S. Common destined under heaven, one family obeying CCP. China regained might to top a world unstoppable. CCP argues only under its leadership can China achieve national rejuvenation, reinforce authority, provide legitimacy, stroking nationalism and socialism, abandon prestige, domestic global for rulers give stability, silence critics, create rules that autocratic states. Goals linked to pursuit of change aspire to be in the international system. The U.S. is dangerous, hostile. Leaders worried Washington threatens everything, menace to political primacy. Slap sanctions, U.S. never good enough to overthrow system. This is a beacon of hope. Human rights looks like menaces. CCP recognizes no limits on power, cannot see threatening CCP unless America sees to be a democracy. CCP cannot make China whole without reclaiming Taiwan. Arms sales, support premise of aid. U.S. obstruct strive for dominance, Western moral advantage. Skip the next card. Taiwan grows nuclear. Claire 22. May prove difficult to continue fighting at a conventional level. Both sides wary of war of attrition like Ukraine. Shape military for rapid and conflict aims to secure victory quickly. For Beijing could need hundreds of ballistic missiles like U.S. ships and air bases for Washington. Launch missiles, key ports, air bases, radar station command centers for U.S. lots of carriers and others for China. Lots of capacity to make war with the losing side except without resorting to nukes. Temptation to escalate is great. Contention 3 is solvency. Plan the United States to substantially reduce its military presence in the state of Israel. Israel is the largest recipient of U.S. military aid. Mine wants and more. American law should mean that it is illegal, but Israel is exempt from restrictions. Summer 23. Biden has to approve funding. The developers have been to send military aid despite HR abuses. Such a largest beneficiary of assistance receives $160 billion. Weapons additions on their material make up 80% of assistance. Congress says that this year we total through legislation bills to do so again isn't the underarc. 15, that spending holds overwhelming advantage over region. Spending aid should be illegal. Foreign assistance act prohibits assisting countries to pattern violating nature arms export control access can only supply weapons for self-defense. Bombardment wasn't lead required U.S. bat units for the arms. Israel is exempt. The U.S. doesn't track. It's a blank check with no betting. The plan to do so that by conditioning aid Rebuttal 21. Emerging policies bind reflect a paradox calls for the U.S. to defend human rights as foreign policy restore multilateral rules, however, also budgets committed to Israel despite contradiction, growing number of voters supporting to restrict aid. The admin should enforce existing laws, prohibit use of assistance for illegitimate purposes, and restrict aid from furthering Israeli occupation. The plans first follow on concessions with the over Palestine in Paris, Fine Art 19. President, we think of Israel as will use aid and will as Israeli policy on Hungarian news about annexing territory. Eisenhower threatened to end all U.S. aid when Israel refused. Kissinger's demand for vowed reassignment, refused new military assistance to withdrawal was done. When Reagan determined Israel's bombed in Lebanon, violated agreement, Reagan banned sales for 6 years. Bush initially refused to give Israel $10 billion in loans until throws settlement growth undercuts claim conditioning reflects hostility. Also, undercuts claim conditioning doesn't work pressure. Produce concessions again and when, and it happens by 2025 elections, war meeting, and military actions is proved. Moment 23. Looking at the in chief, in 25, she says war cancel use election offer distracting America, China flying warplanes. Large scale actions increase military presence in SCS. China invades Taiwan and sees semiconductor, which America is dependent on. China will meddle to keep live from winning. I'm ready for myself. I'm good.
Okay, everything right?
Yes.
Okay, plan, do you like beyond conditioning or reduction?
We think a reduction takes the form of conditioning.
Okay, so, Israel scenario, the internal link card seems to be about like Hezbollah escalating attacks. The next card is if Iran nuclear first struck Israel, Israel would retaliate.
I don't think it's saying that Iran first striking Israel. It's saying that if Israel was attacked by Iran or other
Okay, what line in the Barkley evidence do you think says that?
Do I think says?
What you just said.
The obvious scenario for Israel to use nuclear weapons would be in response to a foreign attack.
What's the
it
word
also
between foreign? Wait, Sterling. What's the word between foreign and attack that you strung to aid?
It also says that Israel would.
It's a foreign nuclear attack. What card says that a conventional attack would elicit Israeli nuclear response?
It says that they would view themselves as having to if they think they'll lose the conventional war.
What evidence says that Iran has a conventional advantage now?
We think they might perceive Iran as having that advantage because
what evidence does they perceive Iran?
The Mandel evidence says that Hezbollah could overwhelm Israeli missile defense systems.
So then Israel would think that, oh, conventionally we just have no chance, we have to first strike Iran.
Well, it would get mad at Iran for having its proxy do stuff.
Okay, yeah, so speaking of that, Hezbollah's been active for like as long as I can remember. I guess what specific escalation do you think is happening anytime soon where Iran encourages Hezbollah to do more escalatory actions?
We think that we've read evidence that indicates Iran is aggressive and that they may consider having their
always
proxy.
aggressive. What is the unique
we think that the Gaza war is a unique situation. We think that Iran views itself as being able to sort of have more influence over the region and expand that influence over the region.
Okay, so
in contrast to
Israel. Gaza war going on for 3 months, you would think that if Iran was going to ramp up attacks in the aftermath of the Gaza war, they would have done
They
it
have been
immediately.
attacking though. They have not
So
attacked Israel, they've attacked the US.
Why hasn't your impact
No,
happened? If Hezbollah can at any time just obviate the Iron Dome, why?
It means that it will happen. It means it's more likely to happen because they have already, Iran has already been attacking US troops.
It's already happening,
but
but it
has
could
not
happen
attacked
worse.
Israel yet.
It's already happening, but it could happen
No,
worse. That's the unique difference.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, that's fine. I guess the Saudi normalization stuff, your card says that Saudi normalization is contingent on ending the Gaza war. What evidence says the AF does that?
We think that the AF forces a permanent agreement between Israel and Palestine over borders that would probably entail the end of the war, as Israel would not be provided aid outside. What?
What says Israel cannot continue the war without U.S. military aid is like that.
We think Israel would listen. We think they historically ended wars when the U.S. told them. They stopped annexing territory. They pulled out of Lebanon in 2006.
Well, I think annexing territory is distinct from what Israel views as a defensive war against Hamas attacks, right?
Well, the other wars were defensive wars too. When Egypt and other countries attacked
invading
them.
the Sinai or something. Okay, sure.
Well, they invaded it in response.
Okay, 6 off, cases, whatever in order. Or not 6 off, 5 off. There's no brothers there.
You said 5, right?
Yeah.
Interpretation of Ferdinand's must reduce military presence in the entire West Asia and North Africa region. It means when the phrase Indian throughout region dictionary. The entirety of an area, it means all areas. 182. In the area means all activities in the area violation. They specify negative elements of ground specification, expose limits to every individual or subset of the country. Average moves negative habits, skews ground, which leads to dissatisfaction perceptions of large withdrawals like assurance of difference, competing interests, reasonabilities, or arbitrary and vice versa. Intervention. Second off, interpretation. Affirmatives must reduce A to West Asia North Africa violations. They condition not reduce that those two are distinct. The literature proves frame for specificity to the admiral as post K21. Recent goals of cut security assistance order condition that assistance standards one ground condition allows them to no link out of all corner ground because they'll say that Israel says yes, the app doesn't decrease military presence, no neg generics means app cut and run to the margin that makes negating untenable to topic and court the topic is whether military presence is good or bad. They don't even defend the military presence is bad, just that it might be bad. If Israel says no, that skirts clash and destroys topic education, which is the only unique event of these 6 months. Third off. Biden's balancing pressure and reassurance to stop Israel from expanding the Hamas war into Lebanon that causes massive regional escalation. Lee 1-4. Blinken is hitting for the time in 3 months to focus on easing restriction field war interrupted bar conflict. Blinken thanks to these are top issues to attack on God's priorities. I think humanitarian aid should towards less intense military operation rate and violence against Palestinians. Blinken will be seeking regional assistance as no institution for this conflict threat. Biden has been seriously considered reasons to significantly counsel officials not to mount creative strikes in Lebanon and Israeli confidence in American defense commitments are key. If they think the U.S. won't defend it, they'll go all out to win the war. Benjamin Mori 1018. Diplomacy will need to feed a multiple audience includes Israel's strong balance that only demonstrate the U.S. is serious about its commitment to accept these Israel can work with Israel and other Egypt and other actors as a tolerant peace depends on him. But diplomacy may be essential to prevent widening conflict and cause a global nuclear war. 1018. The Israel-Hamas border petition for wider implication beyond the Middle East is running high to Ukraine industry and U.S.-China relations. Netanyahu done the action against Iran. Hamas provide an opportunity to act. Provide an opportunity to act. The military remains a potential hub for a new world order that runs back by Beijing, Moscow, AI, triggering global conflicts. While no state ultimately seeks single weapons integration of with command systems growing. Israel-Hamas chances are running high. Fourth off, counterplan the Joint Chiefs of Staff should recommend that the United States substantially reduce its military presence in the state of Israel. The president defers JCS recommendations is politically costly. Proposed recommendations on other branches are followed out. Branch 22. Civilian leaders defer to military expertise. Obama Trump deferred to military as near monopoly and expertise that leaders defer. Obama's efforts to change nuclear policy. Civilian leaders adopt military policy preferences, even those in direct opposition to the president. Civilians weigh military expertise evenly. It is politically challenging to oppose military advice and beneficial alignment military and political explanation for civilian deference. And that results in the plan Biden would comply with Rule 21. Biden charged reducing system in the Middle East a major realignment with the Charles reflects strategic imperatives. Afghanistan White House. Biden wants to bulk up forces countering China's role as Europe's running local negotiations. The U.S. is reducing presence of Harker cut posture by have you seen realignment that solves nuclear war, terror, failed states, and alliance collapse. Fever 21. CMR exists to provide effective security policies. Biden must navigate a great mark conflict instability, Middle East, to strain ties with PLS, WMD, terror, failed states, ethnic rebels, start with the enormous advantage. He will need to navigate tricky waters, the professionals, lead to question humility. Austin may emerge with the strong stakes have neglect to impose intolerable cost when the crisis takes center stage. And process is key. The contemplated sequence solves military deference for the perm classes of Fever and Cone 21. Trust the enough role so solid in CMR each party, signaling seeks mutual understanding and partisan quality. The trust is potentially built through action. Justice developed step by step must be filled in advance. The military must be the initiator, and it competes that that should be based solely on the man. It's the CV doesn't fit the plan. Resolving certainty. OED 89 freedom from diversity should require certainty and immediacy. Other 18. The word should is intended to be not now, not at a later time, not aspirational, but to do now should is mandatory term. Fifth off, the United States should repurpose all military presence in the West Asia to peace engineering course that regards the U.S. sustainable development goals technically. Military force but explicitly peaceful and armed to Sky 18. Let's use military optimized and package engineering corps that repurpose soldiers projects for multinational architects, soldiers experiences friends rather than enemies between everything different East African building energy, European developed African land with SDGs, infrastructure and environmental region, disaster response for units with armed forces, well places for peace, solar power, medical planning, air force, food security, improved readiness, good with a structure that casts existential risks better than isolated scenarios. 20. SDGs that multiple levels having conflict over every class of high global risk alignment SDGs, disaster, cyber attacks, data, climate, water crises, refugees, and pandemics impacting well-being of achieving SDGs, reduce existential risks of targets remain unachieved, risks to develop, chain reactions have existential consequences, high adaptability of humans for humanity becoming extinct is likely there are a series of events culminating in the one event. It solves the all our troops become hippies and de-escalating Gaza. There's no way they cost us credibility. The case page. One, they can only remove American assets. The use will shift operations fully. Late 14. Extension of U.S. sovereignty overseas putting against aviation, fire security, agreements, political alliances, and a multinational coalition, Iraq, unilateral agreements, U.S. military practice because activity can be directed or performed by allies or supernational coalition. Accountability can be dispersed or just and altogether formal and informal agreements that arrange for joint military practices display jurisdiction to allies. Two, they have no evidence that any military presence gets normalization back. Their evidence says that any of the Gaza wars keep. There's no evidence of military presence. Does that? Three, it's never happening. Saudi requires a full Palestinian state. Israel will never live in. And Trump 122, studies south of the will not normalize other paths for Palestinians to not start for Israel and the rejected Palestinian state with for open-ended military control over Gaza, staying unaffiliated at the time. Earlier reversal plan to a Palestinian state that will not be normalization. Prince replied yes. Israel views West Bank as historical heartland and you about to continue to complete victory and unite coalitions with the far right parties. One step up the offensive and skip the next two for now. China wants to cooperate and de-escalate, leave in 23. Beijing hopefully easier unless China's most lose from border conflict and regional oil supply trap of energy price under global commerce, in which China's depends again from working with the U.S., which bolster Beijing's prestige. China's already playing a role in fiscal issues, Saudi, Iran, and approaching successful cooperation return to hopes that Beijing will become a responsible stakeholder. China's regional limit are 22. Limits of China's global evidence of these territorial expansion beyond few sovereign claims not that the Philippines are no global agenda model after China, although China's interested in modest additions to the military does not anything like American global military posture not feasible due to the resource requirements facing axis and alliances. China's leaders with national security experts understand war would be an instant causing uncertainty, not which war if they can avoid it. Limits emissions not at the level of revisions as 20th century. Powers next, they do not have reverse causal evidence of withdrawing from Israel restores rights leadership. This is particularly bad for them because uniqueness for credibility low now predates the Gaza war, which means that American human rights credibility was shot even before Israeli support. There's also no scenario for Israel escalation. There are two case Hezbollah steps of attack. Their impact is Israeli response to Iranian nukes. They also don't have a card that says that Israeli-Saudi coalition is sufficient to solve Iranian aggression, just that the U.S. thinks it is, and that's what our goal is, but not that it would actually be successful. No hedge, brands 10-9. War in the Lebanon is part of an anti crisis of global security, Europe experiencing Western security things, war in Ukraine, war in the Balkans, where Syrian movements, forced NATO to bulk up Azerbaijan, Syria's control over Armenia, resulting in ethnic cleansing of the Taiwan of professional class transition to the SES of the Philippines, begin asserting its right finding and improving its supports. Iran crypto, which equally supports proxies, including Boston, Hezbollah, use around Turkish run over Syria, attempts that country in Africa, coups in the South Sudan, civil war, Japan, Scotland, West Continental, and America, democracy is already hard to find a major region on touch Mexico, America, so originated Russia and Iran, trying to throw American part create SOI. Back to world plus 6 years connection between revision stronger than any other time, together, international orders under more stress. Everything is collapsed. We multi-level. The evidence does not say U.S. power deters China invasion. It actually says the China invasion is inevitable due to entrenched interests. Taiwan invasion can't happen for 15 years. Acts 24. People is kind of reference to level. The basic is first and most powerful blows against Taiwan is that we call the PLA because riddled with corruption, whale inability to do shot campfire missiles. Taiwan for the maybe full stress in August. The party replaced generals into the greater crisis. It leads to filled up missiles with water instead of fuel pocket savings. For protecting nuclear weapons, the defense the priority has rooted that endemic corruption of the PLR is China's spread sports with law punches of missiles and not it wants anti-shipping missiles and from the U.S. from intervening the killers going to go with Taiwan need 15 years of modernization. Cut at 15 years of modernization.
Okay. CX.
Yeah.
So 7-minute timer. Status of the off.
The conditional. I mean the compounds are conditional.
Okay. I guess the first counter plan JCS. What is the net benefit?
Internal boosted CMR.
What is boosted CMR?
Okay, civilian leaders like Biden deferring to military experts on issues of national security is good for
Why do you
civil
think that this
military
one
relations.
plan would be enough to resolve that?
Well, I mean, your whole app is about how this is an incredibly significant geopolitical moment. It's about a redistribution of America's grand strategy and refocus on primacy, focus on deterring China and Taiwan. I think you made the argument for us that this is incredibly crucial as a military decision.
All right. I guess the second counter plan. What's the net benefit?
Internal Peace Corps pursue SDGs.
Okay. Did you read all three of these cards?
Yeah, I read every card on every off.
Okay.
Wait,
I guess.
there were only 2 cards on the SDGs countdown though.
Oh, yeah. There was the third argument though.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just time.
I guess. What does the counter plan do?
It repurposes all our military presence in Israel.
What does
to
that
Peace
look
Corps.
like?
All active personnel in Israel or all assets we have become like owned
So
and
what do they
managed by the
do?
Peace Corps, which means that they are in pursuit of Peace Corps goals like SDGs.
This no hedge impact. I guess. What is the implication? Like
Which card are you talking
the brands card that says.
about? Oh, hedge is already dead.
Okay. What is that in response to?
Any impact that relies on America's ability to deter things.
Okay. I guess why is it dead?
The Rand's evidence is just a list of crises that are going on in the world, which proves that the idea of like a Pax Americana or America's ability to deter violence globally is just totally dead. So Ukraine, there are Serbian movements in the Balkans, they're invading Kosovo, Azerbaijan doing ethnic cleansing of Armenians. There's always like escalation, there's always like perpetual the scenario for escalation in Taiwan, there are more also.
I guess why can't Taiwan war happen for 15 years?
Sure. Like 2 weeks ago, we discovered the PLA is it's incredibly corrupt. They've been filling all of their rockets with water instead
Why
of
does that
fuel.
mean that they can't?
Because the most important part of the Chinese invasion of Taiwan would be their surprise strike force, which is managed by the PLA-RF, because it would be required to take down Taiwan's anti-ship missiles, which would allow the PLA to cross the Taiwan Strait.
all of those rockets don't work. They're filled with water, not fuel. And it would take 15 years to modernize to get the PLA in a sufficient state that it can actually execute a proper invasion of Taiwan. The evidence says the PLA is endemically corrupt, and basically we shouldn't trust any of their military capabilities.
Okay. I guess the T, like, conditions stuff, like, how does this app violate?
You condition, not reduce, asking process.
How does it not reduce, though?
I don't think conditions count as a reduction.
Okay, then I will take prep starting now. Stop prep there, I'll send you back.
47 left.
Yes. The order is, or let me just send it here. Done. Okay. Order will be starting on the app, and then it will be, so it's the app, T reduce, and then it'll be T subsets, then JCS, other counterplan Lebanon.
Alright, I'm ready when everyone else is.
Give me a sec to
You good?
no, give me a sec.
What?
Give me a sec.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Shifting operations to other countries does not matter. That doesn't shift the perception that the U.S. is doing it. It means that the U.S. is not seen as doing it, and they're also durable fiat means that they can't just give it to other countries. It's seen as a reduction. Yes, normalization does come back. The Saudis were about to say yes before the war. That changed because of Gaza. Yes, full Palestinian state. It can happen. They dropped when they say binary. It's empirically proven that Israel is willing to make concessions to adversaries, including Egypt, which literally invaded it, and there's no reason that this war is different, which means that Israel will make a final border agreement in order to sort of comply with the U.S. shifting its resource allocation. They say China wants to help. That doesn't matter. It's not responding to anything in the one see. Yes, it is reverse casual. It's the largest internal link. It shows the U.S. is taking a stance and stops the sort of perceptual decline illustrated by one see Kaifera. They say non-unique, but yes, we get back on track. It's seen as sort of restraining an ally. It means that we are sort of taking a credible stance. They say hedge is not able to deter. Hedge is able to deter. China thinks it can't do stuff, but the U.S. is strong. That's the Brand Barkley evidence. Trying to shift U.S. partners now. And China war is not inevitable. It's only if they see the U.S. is weak. It can happen. Taiwan war outweighs. China thinks it's an easy win because the U.S. perceptual decline moment indicates 2025 is the first time because of elections Taiwan and the U.S. clear explain that goes nuclear because neither side can afford to lose. 15-year stuff ignores doing interest in modernization now. They'll try which interest arguments. Condo is bad. They can get counterfeits with straighter in which views. Half time and strategy results argument and responsibility and source policy analysis. Independently enforcing contradictions would kill fairness. Digital solves. They can't go with straight turn. Key reduce. I mean, planning the documents leaves arbitrary and guarantees links accountable competition to reduce. Military prison includes temporary suspension and more restrictive eligibility criteria. Wills too. Lots of the object work was a reduction benefits. Conditions on the benefit reduce the benefit just as early as the reduce in the size of the benefit. Conditions regarding the benefit permanently reduce or eliminates benefits. Retiree never recovers the payments loss. The amendment reduces total benefits, and that loss was permanent. This was a reduction. And prefer it for an half ground. Add new X's on the after necessary for an equal average rate. Predictability for interpretation is cherry pick, which turns limits because literature guides preparation and adversity errors. Worse than the 19 conditions because the app of a deficit. The 19 DS conditions, functional limit check, no limit, assurance, deterrence, politics, unique confidence check. It's still a reduction because it's not the console Israel app. It's about making it so that U.S. can't provide aid that violates U.S. code. We just made arguments that Israel will shift with that, which is our solvency argument. It's still a reduction. It just also induces them to stop, use reasonability, good is good enough, and avoid stuff is kind of substantial. Substantially includes substance that can be either quality or quantity of Saudi Army 17. Sufficiently includes a single component, sufficiently important to agree the term is going to be used for large proportions of visual is understood in qualitative or quantitatively large. It means within, not throughout, colon 52. In, obviously, the word is does not mean throughout. I'm not aware of any authority first rapid that means the word in. Over limiting means not limiting as one app. That's bad precision. And only we provide clear bright line picks. Every app has one country picks or worse. Ask each times Q. Disclosure means it's easier to be negative. Country apps, generic check, functional limits check, cross-apply from reasonability, cross-apply, and JCS kind of that. First, permutation do both. Permutation do the kind perm plan. JCS also recommend the United States boost to defense spending. Limited transfers is good. It prevents block recycling, recycle country picks, and non-germane net benefits with crush. Topic research. Fourth, the key. Biden says no. Surgeons in 123. The man should dominate Iraq war. The Middle East, he's likely to remain on the South. Vote over the Venezuelan eventualist record or national security based on foreign policies while architects of Iraq and Afghan, Libya, Syria, Yemen. Biden is putting the arsonists in charge of the fire brigades. Delay. Biden takes way too long. We need to cut 8 now. Otherwise, China does not view it as sort of a all causes 6 all causes a CMR. It will be 1-1. Division within Democratic Party on defense and modernization of militarism and climate change. The appeals made for their military functions, the usual term by change from military bureaucracy quickly learn those techniques on helpful military tendencies will be observed the gender and age dynamics. Mark the card at age dynamics and resolve is not in the plan, does not matter. Should refers to the future. Brown age should look into the future. The areas is concerning impossible future events. Should could be uncertain. White 26. Should does not express certainty as the word will sometimes does. That just like permitted the counterfeit allow counterfeits to compete off immediacy sucks. It just like delay counterfeits of the worst possible counterfeits, which are possibly good deficits against and shifts debated process of a product, which is bad piece for counterfeit. Perm do the counterfeit crossfire from above. Permutation do both. That shields. And picks are badly sealed the app. It chips the ban completely. DAs solve their offense, and it cannot solve the app because it means that the U.S. is still perceived as being involved in it. We do not have troops in Israel, which means that they do not access this argument. There's nothing to sort of repurpose. It can't solve the app because the U.S. is still seen as being involved. Lebanon yet. The plan ends war with Hamas. Nag Muslims say no to get a link to the Jim Cardi. It's hugely power tactic just as diplomacy of working to contain the conflict. In order to not increasing it or Israel wanting to do anything. The plan is diplomatic action necessary to solve the yet.
Alright.
Starting to drop the debate over past Condo.
Yeah.
What was the argument to like no Taiwan war years?
The argument for no time.
Answer to no
the whole thing.
Yeah.
I restated the warrants in my card, and then I said your card is wrong because they'll still try, and they're modernizing.
Okay.
Order, PICs.
So on the Peace Corps counter plan, Condo, so I guess if that's on case, do it there. Israel, Lebanon, Disad, and then case.
Okay, so it's just PICs, Condo, Lebanon DA, and then the app.
Yeah. No.
Good to go.
Okay.
PICs no interpretation or violation means this was not a complete argument. The counter plan is not a PIC, it repurposes. It does not include any part of the plan. It does not reduce any military presence, means we do not take any military presence out of Israel. We just change it all to be the Peace Corps, which means that I just don't know what this argument was. It was not complete in the, what is he? Not going to the counter plan, the Prince Test of Competition. Condo. Counter the negatives to what we did and no perfect on offense. One, Netflix key to fairness or ground's reaction, and the neg always is split the between of every different application. The app always know more about their when I see that I do that specificity, advantage means and our flexibility and the ability to kick accuracies is key. Two, generics they can straight turn counter and the neg will only go process counter that can be straight turned that turns class in education. Three, real world policy making debates only. Portable value that we retain years out is understanding the policy making process. Their interobvious essence. Policy making's goal is to refine the plan and kick parts that are bad for reciprocity. They create new rules with conditional permutations. Only fair we get counter plans. So non-unique all of their offense. They do not have a uniqueness argument for any of their strategy times use stuff. There's no reason why counterplans uniquely skew the app. It is true of Talcality, it is true of it is true of disads as well, so there's just no uniqueness for any of this stuff. Times 2 flips neg, the 1C has 6 minutes generate offense, but the 1C only has 7 for offense and defense, and most 1C split 5-2 or 4-3, which cases we both have 13 minutes to speak, so it's not in either direction. It's also not unique. Everyone errors pressed for time. I would have just read more disads or case turns, and I don't have to go for any of those. The strat skew stuff, skew is inevitable. That was the stuff I did above. Dispo solves, there was no warrant for why dispo solves. They just said the words dispo solves and explained what their standard of dispositionality was. They did not say why dispo solves. Two-error clarification will be you. You cannot vote on dispo solves if you don't know. It also doesn't solve any of our options. It doesn't solve Netflix because the counter plan, the app can't stick us with the counter plans, and I see the way Netflix that ways doesn't solve argument, innovation, or generics because if they can straight turn counter plans, people won't go for creative new counter plans. The Lebanon page. Israel strikes into Lebanon, turn Hamas war into World War III. They draw in Russia, China, and Iran, who each have overlapping military and economic ties in the region that pulls in the U.S., Jordan, and Saudi. It ends the oil market overnight, flash crashes the U.S. economy, and triggers runaway nuclear war. Frame for the impact. It turns case. Even a limited war draws the U.S. back into the region overnight and zeroes the case. Even if the restricts presence in the U.S. will do temporary invasions, arms sales, flybots, and attacks from other bases to maintain involvement. The link alone turns case. 2 is stability. The region hasn't meaningfully escalated since the bomb squad was relatively stable. Removing the primary leverage for de-escalation is structurally more likely to escalate the region, so probability should filter out their impacts. The answers to this were really light. I don't really understand. I think they're just kind of banking on this plan solves war stuff. They say the plan solves war. I will explicitly concede on T that this was not a consult app, and they do end up reducing military presence. This means that I don't have to win a say no argument because what they are doing is exactly what the 1A promised they would not do, and what the Crossix was talking about, what they would not do. They said that no matter what Israel says, the plan will always reduce some military aid, which means I do have a link, and Israel will not just stop the war. The whole Israel stops the war immediately. Stuff only works if they win that their app is based on a say no, say yes argument, which they've explicitly relinquished throughout the debate. The plan also does not solve war. I just don't understand what the possible warrant for this could be, and I don't think there was one in the 1A. There are only 2 ways I can think that the app would possibly solve war. 1 is military capability, and 2 is political will. First, on military capability, it is obviously ridiculous to say that Israel does not have military capability to continue the war without the U.S. Most of Israel's initial response was done without the U.S. Their ground invasion of Gaza was Israeli IDF troops on the ground, which means that there's no reason that U.S. Military support is necessarily key for the invasion of Gaza. It's also just not an argument they made. The second is political will. I will answer this. I'll do the political will stuff more on the case. They say Vijaya is power tech. No, it is not. It explicitly says that having commitments to Israel is a precondition for diplomacy to work. We cannot meaningfully exert any pressure over Israel if we do not have military presence in the region. They have no reason to listen to an ally that is not doing anything for them. Our relationship with Israel is transactional. It will not work if we are not giving them something in return. They will just say, screw you, and we're not going to listen to you. This argument was just also underdeveloped in the 1 era and will definitely be blown up in the 2 era. You should reject 2 era spin. They say the plan is a diplomatic action necessary to solve the dissent. I think it's the same argument as the number 1 point. I'll answer. And above, they say no evidence Israel wants to expand the war. This is not true. Our uniqueness argument explicitly says that Biden was barely able to constrain them from attacking Lebanon, and our argument was about the draw-in effects of what would happen if Israel struck Lebanon absent Biden's coercion. Israel would just immediately strike Lebanon, which is proven that they want to do because Biden had to talk them back from the brink, which proves that it is something that Israel wants to do and would do if the U.S. Was not in a position to coerce them. The case page, the start on the Saudi normalizations that they've badly mishandled the Saudi normalizations that they've just asserted that Israel is willing to concede on things. Israel is willing to make some concessions. I will concede that their conditions argument says that Israel didn't invade the Sinai Peninsula because the U.S. Because the U.S. pressure, but that is fundamentally distinct from this scenario. Our evidence says that Israel views the West Bank as a spiritual homeland to the Jews. They would definitely not give it. They would definitely not give it to Palestine in a settlement. And the evidence says that Saudi Arabia will not come to normalization talks unless there is a total unless there's a two-state solution at a Palestinian state. They say Saudi was almost at talks pre-war. Yes, this is true, but the war changed things. I don't know why this would be relevant, and they just conceded that Saudi Arabia's top diplomat explicitly said they need a Palestinian state for anything to be resolved. Israel would never give into a Palestinian state. Netanyahu is beholden to far-right elements of his coalition. These are all conceded arguments in the card I read in the 1 and C, which means there's just no way Israel stops the war. Netanyahu has also said that he will continue the war until Hamas is absolutely destroyed, which should answer all the stuff they did on the dissent. All of these are conceded arguments from the card I read in the 1 and C. They say that they also conceded that their evidence is not reverse causal. It does not say that withdrawing military presence from U.S. actively boosts U.S. military credibility. This is especially important because the 1 era's response to this was just that it stops the bleeding. Stopping the bleeding is not good enough because they read uniqueness evidence for why U.S. credibility is low now, and that uniqueness evidence was from before the Gaza war, which means that U.S. credibility was low pre-Gaza, which means bringing it back to the equilibrium pre-Gaza is not sufficient as per their uniqueness argument. They can't just stop the bleeding. They need to proactively do something more than that, which answers all of their Taiwan stuff. And the last thing is they functionally conceded that Taiwan's missiles just do not work. This postdates all of their evidence. It is a new expose, which means that none of their evidence assumes it. All of China's missiles that they would use in a first strike surprise attack in Taiwan is the most important part of the Taiwan invasion, and all the missiles are filled with water, so they wouldn't be able to invade.
Okay, I have 46 seconds. I'll start. Okay. The order will be the AF and then the DA. The order is kind of weird. I think I'd say I'll start with the AF on the Taiwan scenario, and then the conditioning, solvency, whatever you want to call it stuff, and then the DA. Can you repeat? Yeah, it's just the AF and the DA. So I'm starting on the Taiwan side. The win condition for the affirmative is winning the human rights scenario, which is distinct from the Saudi normalization stuff. We do not need to win the Saudi normalization to win that the U.S. is able to regain some human rights credibility in order to deter China from invading Taiwan in 2025, as per the moment evidence which was conceded that indicates that China views itself as being able to sort of win, which is relevant later. The only thing that we need to win is that by the U.S. showing that it's not going to unconditionally support Israel, that it will sort of cause the U.S. to regain credibility with countries that are currently switching to China now. This is the Caifero evidence in the 1AC. They stake two arguments that are relevant on case. One was that the missiles don't work, but they've dropped all the reasons why China would still try anyway. Regardless of some of those missiles not working, China still believes that it has the ability to sort of attack and that they are actively taking military exercise now. They've also ready the war council, and Xi has made open provocations that have shown that he is willing and ready to invade Taiwan by 2025 because he believes that it will be too easy to where they won't actually need to fight a prolonged conflict. That causes miscalculation as per the clear evidence says neither side can afford to lose that was dropped. The second argument that they extended on case was that it's not reverse causal. This was answered in the one error, which is specifically that Caivero says it's the largest internal link to these things, and that it is able to sort of restore these things because China, as per the Branson Barkley evidence in the 1AC, China will not attack Taiwan, and they believe that the U.S. is still holding on in the international system. We have not conceded these missiles don't work arguments because China is modernizing it now as per our moment evidence. It proves that they're getting ready. The condition stuff. The AFS mechanism might be slightly confusing, but it does not consult Israel, they get it all back. It is not the U.S. ask them to do something that they do it, they get it all back. Here's how the AF works. It reduces aid in line with U.S. code. We've made arguments that that is a sort of inducement that causes Israel to fear that the U.S. is going to cut them off fully. As per our arguments, our binary evidence indicates that in the past, the U.S. has used inducements such as this to make Israel make concessions, specifically that they withdrew from the Sinai Peninsula and they withdrew from other areas, and including a full withdrawal from Lebanon. They say that the Gaza war is distinct because Israel does not want to leave the West Bank. All we need to win, we don't need to win anything beyond just that we force Israel to make a commitment to peace by showing the U.S. is not credibly interested in it. The DA stuff. If you read their card, I win. Seriously, the link literally says nothing. The emphasis were light, but they're also literally right. The card that starts with a V literally does not say anything about Israel attacking in the first place. It just says that the U.S. needs to sort of take diplomatic action. The plan is a diplomatic action because it proves that the U.S. is not interested in supporting Israel attacking further, as it shows that they are interested, which causes Israel to back down. The uniqueness evidence that they say sort of says that Biden had to show this is just proving, it's literally just proving that they're not going to do it. They don't have anywhere in this card that says that it's going to threat. It's just, they have nothing here that says that they're going to attack. They don't have an escalation scenario. They don't have a goes nuclear warrant. Only we have a goes nuclear warrant for our Taiwan scenario because neither side can afford to lose. Israel attacking Taiwan has no impact. Iran has no impact. You're right.
All right, is everybody for an RFP?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought this was a really good debate. Anybody negatives? I think the dissad turns the case and also has a large external impact. So I think that really the AF just kind of says like too little on the dissad. So kind of all I have in the TAR is read their link evidence to agree with us. And I guess I don't think that the negative link evidence is as bad as GAP does, or at minimum, even if the link evidence isn't great, I think that the turns case argument is really obvious, and the external impact is so big that even if I think that the link is mediocre, I think it's still enough to outweigh the case. So I think their link makes the pretty standard argument about Israel needing to be reassured about U.S. support. Their link argument talks about how Blinken will kind of have to speak to multiple audiences, thread a difficult needle between support for some sort of peaceful resolution to the conflict, but also kind of assuaging resurgent fears about abandonment. On the case stage, I think that the missiles stuff, I think that what the 2AR says is persuasive, but I guess I'm inclined to think that the missiles are filled with water argument maybe does a little bit more to mitigate the case than does, their link evidence isn't specific enough to mitigate the dissat. But I think that the app, just kind of needs to do better impact calc. You need to answer this turns case argument, and I think, just kind of I think do more to prevent the negative from accessing so much of your case offense with their, link turns case, terminal impact turns case, type arguments. So I think that, just need to do more to kind of, probably just, the 1AR needs to answer this dissat more. But in a world where you don't, I think that you kind of need to explain the app in a way that makes the internal links seem, like, just do more to explain your internal links in a way that their turns case arguments wouldn't be able to access.
Right. What was the turns case argument that you had float?
The turns case argument I have is that the United States would kind of like re-intervene in Israel. I guess it's almost like a form of like a rollback argument. But beyond that, I think that their terminal impact talks a lot about like U.S.-China war, also the abs impact. I don't think that you really have any like internal link defense or reason why there wouldn't be draw-in, why there wouldn't be draw-in.
Okay. Do you think that like an indite of like this impact card just being about like the impact card like says just the Israel-Hamas conflict will escalate? Like, do you think an indite of that specifically and like the impact uniqueness of it or like whatever would be persuasive? Or like
I think you should just read a card saying there's no way China, Russia get involved in like an Israel-Iran war.
okay.
I think that is probably better than just kind of pushing back on like the uniqueness of the impact, because I think it's pretty obvious that the war could get a lot worse, even if it's bad now.
Okay.
I think there's definitely a distinction between the status quo, which Hart is describing, which is like a war involving just about everyone with nukes.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. Thanks for judging.
Good debate.